Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. No, the show that is a news and politics podcast that is occasionally funny.
Nope, I don't like this. I don't like throwing in the towel.
Hi there, my name is George.
My name is Tom.
My name is Adam.
And as the show grinds to a halt, with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a podcast, just what the world needs. Another news and politics podcast with, three guys talking on the internet that's occasionally funny. I mean, that's, there is a real dearth of this kind of content out there, like people are just crying, they're craving it, they're crying out for it. The people, you got to give the people what they want.
It makes me feel better about myself that we didn't jump on this because we're in our mid-30s and don't know what to do with our lives because we've realized that we're maybe halfway to death and have no meaning. We started this when we were young and full of potential. Like we did this when before we squandered all our opportunities.
And we squandered it. Yeah, that's the key part of that. Yeah, it's just
and we squandered this as well.
We started when we were full of potential, and which we have since wasted, and we are now, in fact, in our mid to late 30s. And what was that line from Inception? Where it's like, it doesn't matter. The show's ground to a halt. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, totally ground to a halt. My point is, we didn't jump on this because we needed a personality.
A man,
we were doing this ages ago.
Filled with regret. What's that line?
Yeah.
An old man filled with regret.
Waiting to die.
Are you referencing the opening scene of Inception? That's one of the scenes.
It's also the ending scene
at the end, but not spoilers. But it's not like what many people reference in Inception. I feel the slow speech of the old man. Yeah. Yes, I was trying to remember the actor's name.
Yeah, this is a news and politics podcast, and so...
No, this is an Inception podcast, George. It has been for the past 15 years. Have you not noticed?
Or maybe it's always been. Whoa, let me get my wedding ring and spin it around. So it's a news and politics podcast, and we're off to a rocky start. Much like Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary over in the United States, when talking about the US and their strikes on Iran. So we talked about it last week on the podcast, where we mentioned that, did a bunch of great analysis, and of course my headset microphone was the one that was taking in the audio, not the expensive Shure microphone that's sitting in front of me here, so it was garbled. But excellent. Let me assure you, for those who skipped it, or for those who didn't listen, which is statistically most people, it was good. It was so good. And you missed it.
We solved it.
We solved it.
Historic 3-state solution.
Yep. There you go. Tom knows nothing about Iran. So
I stole that bit. I can't own that.
The Pete Hegseth, in the wake of those announced strikes, was really keen to just get a big victory lap. Everyone is getting ready for his press conference, getting ready for a big sloppy blowjob from Fox News, just like the kinds he used to give, and was met with...
Only on weekends.
Only on weekends, yeah. Sloppy weekends with Pete. And did not receive what he was hoping to get. In fact, just prior to his presser, where he wanted to, high-five a million angels and do a bit of a victory lap, there was a report from journalists at CNN and the New York Times, based on a leaked intelligence report from his own department, that cast doubt on his and Mr. Trump's assertions that Iran's nuclear facilities had been, quote, obliterated. So basically what happened is there was this leaked report that says, actually, yes, the facility, the nuclear facility of Fordo that they bombed is damaged, but there's still, equipment, material that's possibly viable. And crucially, no one's got any evidence that the uranium that they were meant to be bombing and making not weapons grade anymore by bombing it was in fact even there. In fact, there were reports of trucks being there. They confirmed on satellite images like a couple of days beforehand, potentially removing some of that material and taking it elsewhere. So there have been...
and we talked about that last week, right? It's like, they had some forewarning. So, the first thing you do is evacuate it and move stuff.
Yeah, they didn't need the Houthi PC small group signal chat to leak this time because Trump was the biggest threat to operational security on this mission by telling everyone what they were going to do before they did it. So
may or may not, but it was definitely going to be within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks. And then Iran said,
So-
I guess, okay, we'll start moving stuff now then. Like, I don't know why we would. It's not like a kid with ADHD. They don't wait till the night before to do their homework. Like, they're just like, okay, well, then we'll move it. If you're going to bomb us then. Like, why would we? Okay.
You raise an interesting point. We all do really just live in Donald Trump's group chat, don't we? Like, we don't need to be secretly added to it by accident. By
he created his own group chat, which included everyone.
We're all in the Iran PC group chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Donald Trump, gave the Iranians warning, basically, that he was going to bomb them. And so they presumably move their nuclear materials out of the site at Fordo and others. And so there's still the potential of pretty highly enriched uranium out there somewhere. And, there have been some assessments from the intelligence community saying that, could be as little as, 3 to 6 months that the program has been delayed because they still have the materials, they still have the expertise. Like if they wanted to go and weaponize this material, they still could on a pretty short timeline. So it's like as to whether
this was an initial low confidence intelligence report. It's since been superseded by other intelligence reports, which are really intelligent. Because they're intelligence reports.
So don't believe your lying eyes in listening to the initial intelligence report. Those guys are idiots. Believe those same guys' subsequent reports, which now agree with us mysteriously, which are much better and more accurate, let me assure you. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? And it's so funny because the really concerning thing about all of this is that it now kind of calls into question, because you've got all these toadies in the Trump administration, you've got these Tulsi Gabbards, you've got these Pete Hegseths, you've got these guys who, rather than providing any kind of impartial kind of information to journalists, I understand every administration has political appointees, and to some extent they're all doing their best to go to bat for the administration. But the problem with having people that are like a loser like Hegseth would never get into a position where he would be Secretary of Defense but for Donald Trump elevating him, right? And so he is just so much more grateful to Trump than other appointees would have been. And he will say and do just about he will give a hot stone massage with a happy ending to Donald Trump if that's what he asks for, because but for the grace of Trump, there go I, he thinks. So what happens now is that because all these toadies are in the administration and you see the initial assessments are, the facility was partially damaged, but could still be operational. And then the hammer comes down and the office of the White House goes, can you fucking get your intelligence briefings? We all need to be singing from the same song sheet, towing the party line, agreeing with Trump. If he says it was obliterated, then the fucking thing was obliterated. Get your shit together. And then all of them, rather than go, I'm a professional, I have a career, I've got 70 squillion years in the Pentagon, and I'm not going to be dictated to by some flunky political appointee, they go, okay. And then they presumably readjust all of these intelligence appraisals to match whatever dog shit has come out of Trump's mouth. And so now we're kind of left in a situation where we as the public kind of look at these intelligence appraisals and things that come out of the official mouthpiece of the administration and go, is that legit though? Or is that just propaganda, bullshit, political spin? Because you used to be able to trust when the Air Force says, yeah, we dropped a fucking bunch of bombs and we blew the shit out of the place. You go, okay, well, it's the Air Force. Why would they lie? This guy is he's a bureaucrat. He's not a political appointee. Why would he lie about that? Now you sort of go, oh, I'm not so sure if everything that they're necessarily telling us is the truth about this sort of stuff. And you see the way that Gabbard's initial outline of what happened changed basically once she copped shit from Trump. Now her new intelligence assessments say basically the opposite of what she was saying 2 weeks ago. And And you sort of go, okay, well, like how based in fact and reality could that same assessment from the same people then be if it now says the opposite to what it said a week ago? I don't know.
But Pete Hegseth took it well, by all accounts. Really really moderate response.
Chef's kiss. You know what you can say about Pete Hegseth is he definitely doesn't need a drink. He's just cool, relaxed, calm as a cucumber, just really in control of his emotions, just really good at emotional regulation. That's Pete Hegseth. Here, of course, to undermine and to underscore the irony of the statement I've just made is a clip of Pete Hegseth saying words.
Well, good morning, everybody. Just arrived last night back from NATO, 2 days apart from my battle buddy, so it's good to see him this morning. Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
You too, sir.
Where there was a historic outcome.
Yeah, my battle buddy, we're sick bros, just chilling out with my bros.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
Real quick. I think there's so much news, so many things happening that oftentimes big, momentous moments get missed. What President Trump accomplished in NATO yesterday was game-changing and historic. A shift in burden sharing to European responsibility in NATO that most would have said was impossible at the beginning of his term. But he said NATO needs to pay up. They started in the first term, and here in his second term, we've accelerated that. 32 NATO countries committed to spending 5% of their GDP on defense, on actually investing in the NATO alliance. So I hope with all the ink spilled, all of your outlets find the time to properly recognize this historic change in continental security that other presidents tried to do, other presidents talked about. President Trump accomplished it. It's a huge deal. You see, we're here this morning because in hunting for scandals all the time, in trying to find wedges and spin stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. You miss historic moments like 5% at NATO, which when you hear, I was in the closed door briefing. I wish there could have been cameras in there. When you heard the prime ministers and presidents of other countries, to a man and to a woman, looking at President Trump and saying, this never could have happened. Never would have happened. It seemed impossible 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago. But here we are because of your leadership.
Here we are because of you, not necessarily because of your leadership. Yeah, the fact that you constantly threaten to pull out of NATO in the face of a Russian advance might have something to do with the fact that they're willing to spend more on their own defense. Call me crazy. I don't know if it's Trump's persuasion skills, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, that never happened, did it, Pete?
To a man and a woman, they said, Donald J. Trump, you are the Lord and Messiah. You are Lasan al-Ghaib, I swear. Definitely a real quote.
If you asked them the question, I bet they'd say the same thing. But searching for scandals, you miss historic moments, like recruiting at the Pentagon. Historic levels in the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Yeah, maybe there'll be a little mention here or there, but because it was under President Trump's leadership, because Americans are responding to him as commander-in-chief, the press corps doesn't want to write about it. Or bring us to the topic of the moment, the highly successful strikes in Iran. Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report Multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful. I'm going to get to the chairman in a moment because he's going to lay out the particulars for you based on his professional military experience. But here's what other folks are saying. The DIA that put that report out says that this is a preliminary low-confidence report and will continue to be refined as additional intelligence becomes available.
Yeah, and it goes on like that. He is just real aggro for a guy who has not been asked a single question as of yet.
Yeah, he just came in hot.
Statement.
He came in hot. And he goes on to take questions from journalists, and you think takes one from Fox News, and he goes to the reporter, he goes, and you're the worst at this. Just like, what the fuck? Is this guy the Secretary of Defense? This is a report generated from one of your departments. Like, it's not like it was like some random third party, like Speedy Pete's Shoot 'em Up's YouTube channel where they're like looking at Google Earth, maps and, trying to infer stuff about the conflict. Like, this is a report that was generated from one of your agencies, right? Like, that you have oversight over. And it's such a bizarre way of approaching the media now. He's so keen to just give Trump a sloppy blowjob. He just can't help himself. He's just like running to the fray. He's like the bride, the woman at the wedding that's elbowing all of the other bridesmaids out of the way to catch the bouquet. Like, he just can't help himself.
Keep in mind, he's the Secretary of Defense, so it's his legacy as well with his trying to defend here. He's trying to get some runs on the board, so to speak.
Yeah, well, we don't want the fact that he was a sloppy drunk who ran a bunch of charities into the ground to be his only legacy. Certainly, you want to add to that.
It's great on TV. So the press conference went on and they explained exactly sort of how they dropped the bombs and.
It does sound like an impressive technical achievement. Like, the idea that you can basically Robin Hood one bunker bomb in after another, 5 or 6 times in order
almost exactly like the plot to Top Gun Maverick is the other thing I've been thinking about
is it?
For weeks. It's literally what they do in Top Gun Maverick, except with a different plane.
The comparison.
And the country they attack in Top Gun Maverick.
Presumably Iran, I remember that, yeah.
I mean, there's F-14s. The only other country that has F-14s is, in fact, Iran.
Big Iran vibes, yeah.
I haven't seen Top Gun 1 or 2, sorry, but I imagine they are at war with, like, unspecified-istan.
Yes.
Like, kind of is what they're going with. They're like, we can't say anything specifically, but it's definitely a Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, we're not going to say where it is, but the background music when he crash lands is for sure.
Yeah, and is everything presented in sepia tones?
Yes, yeah. Boy, God damn it, it's hot. Oh, and they even made a joke in this press conference about how, and the guys who pulled off this mission took off from such and such Air Force base in Nevada, and as far as I know, they don't have beach volleyball. I was like, is he doing gags? Is the general doing bits now? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. And he just...
An impressive technical achievement, no doubt. But I think it is like to go after the media so aggressively for accurately reporting on an accurate leaked report, which calls into question the thing that the president just said, which is then contradicted by his own Defense Department, is worthy of exploration. Like, that's called, that's what Pete, you might not be familiar with this. It's called journalism, Pete. You might be familiar with it. I don't know. I'm surprised that this surprises you this much. Like, it's completely within their rights to explore that as a story.
It's and this is the thing, is that the reason why we're talking about why there's all this discussion around is that they were in bunkers, and you can't, as it turns out, from satellite imagery, see inside.
It's hard to see what you bombed inside of a bunker. Yeah,
it's underground. There's been a lot of focus and talk around the various analysis of satellite reporting and what comes out of it. So what's clear is that the sites have been badly damaged. They've not necessarily been completely destroyed as such, but you'd assume what's inside it was probably pretty
damaged. Yeah, you would assume, a large level of damage was sustained to the facility, right?
Yeah.
But to go after, like, to say that the reason that they're doing, well, here's the little last part of the clip. To say that everyone is reporting on this because they have a hatred of Donald Trump is just like unhinged, right? Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump because you want him not to be successful so bad. You have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented him isn't true. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
He's such a baby.
He's such a little baby.
Oh my God. He's just
Hillary Clinton can't be president. She's too emotional. Meantime, this guy's like, I didn't get the coverage I wanted.
Yeah, he is doing terrible work if they're trying to still toe the line of like women can't be trusted in positions of responsibility because they'd be too emotional.
Oh my God, someone get this man a drink.
He came out.
God, if this is what he's like sober, get him a drink. Fucking hell, calm down.
He came out white hot with rage before anyone had said anything.
Yeah.
Like, he came out and started lecturing.
That's what I said. I played the start of the press conference. That was the start. In case you're wondering, there wasn't like any sort of preamble. He literally comes out and goes, okay, are we ready? You fucking cunts. That was his opener.
Yeah.
And just to sort of rewind a little bit. So it's obviously been a pretty large week with the whole Iran thing. So the US, we talked about the bombing last week, that this is the reaction to the bombing. Since then, there was a ceasefire that was then quickly
he ended the war, Adam.
On.
He was so muscular.
Ceasefire again.
He was so muscular in his foreign policy that he ended the war that he and his ally Israel started 12 days ago. Like, we're back to a state of the war being over as it was 2 weeks ago before our side did anything. And
it's the Iran responded and they shot a couple of missiles at a base at Qatar, which all of the missiles were shot down. So, Iran's much feared response was kind of null and void.
After they warned the US that they were going to do it as well. And Trump said, thanks for the warning. I was like,
and allegedly, both sides have said, let's talk. Let's talk.
We know we're going to bomb. We know we're going to bomb. Got to bomb something. We don't want the US getting super mad and doing a ground invasion. So we're just going to let you know, we're just going to throw a couple of bombs and then we go, okay, and now that's it. We all agree. Finished. We got you. We got you back.
That's the last one. Yeah.
Square. I was going to say the back and forth about the ceasefire was almost comical if it wasn't so so many deaths would be entangled with it. But then Israel was like, we've got a ceasefire, and they just violated it. And Iran's like, the fuck, we did have a ceasefire. No one said shit to us. You just kept bombing us. And then they're like, okay, we definitely have a ceasefire.
Well,
and Donald Trump lost it.
Yeah, to that end, he...
he was very frustrated that Israel was blowing up his very perfect ceasefire that definitely existed.
Definitely real ceasefire that I created. So here's Donald Trump just dropping F-bombs on the White House front lawn before getting into a helicopter, which is cool and normal.
Spoiling the lead.
All right, well, here it is.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
It's just the president of the United States just dropping F-bombs and then walking away.
You know, say that is the most coherent thought I have ever heard Trump express. Yes. Like that entire thing there, I felt he didn't like slur his words. He didn't like waffle on about like Rosie O'Donnell or something. Yeah. He just said we had a deal. And he said Iran violated it, but Israel did it as well, and they can't be doing this. And like he just had this coherent thought, and then dropped it with they've been fighting each other for so long, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I'm like, wow.
I wonder whether he swears like a chimney behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. He's actually like a Nostradamus, like behind the scenes with a few F-bombs thrown in. As soon as you take away the swearing, his brain shuts down.
He must be.
Is that what it is? He's just a comic that can't work clean. Is that what it is? Yeah.
But just, that's
like,
the most coherent I've ever heard
I've
in
got
me.
a set at an orphanage, but I guess I'll have to dump my, butt fucking, finger fucking material. I've got about 5 solid minutes left of my act, so...
I don't know. My point is that I think today was the day Trump became a president.
Trump was the day. Like, today's the day he became president. Yes. Every day that he says something that isn't borderline unhinged, all of the media goes, today was the day that he really became president, wasn't it?
What's interesting is that Benjamin Netanyahu reacted to that, and then like within a couple of hours, the Israelis were like, "Yep, cool, no, we're done. We're done. We're so done.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping loads, gigantic, huge loads, gigantic loads like you've never seen it. Big, hot, juicy loads.
Yeah.
And the best part, the best part about it is all the talk of loads. The other thing I want to just bring up very briefly, the bomb that they dropped on Iran's the US bomb that they dropped as a GBU-57. It's a 30,000-pound bomb.
That's a good load. Let me tell you right now, it's a big load. I know how big that load is. Okay, shooting ropes.
The name of it is a massive ordnance penetrator.
Yeah.
I can't deal. It's a massive ordnance penetrator.
I feel that, the people who name these things are either the filthiest or the most ignorant. Like that they just hear that, they go, well, it's massive and it's ordnance and it will penetrate its target. Yeah. Well, it's a massive ordnance penetrator. We all cool with that? Yeah, I can't see how that can possibly be
any problems with that.
Sounds
good. Sounds good.
Yeah. We call it dropping a load. Anyone got any problems with that?
No, I don't see why that could be misconstrued. No, I think let's drop a load on the mop.
I mean, let's be really clear. The reason why this ended was because the Israelis completed everything they wanted to complete.
Ozymandias wept for there were no more Gazas to bomb.
No more targets.
Yeah,
like they've basically, with the US's help, they've bombed all the nuclear sites they know of. They've taken out half their air defenses. They've reduced the Iranians' capacity to respond, and so they've destabilized the regime potentially a little bit, or at least made the Iranians be worried about.
Like, oh, we're going to bomb the front door of one of your prisons. Yeah. We're going to bomb your TV station. Oh, we might do a regime change. Watch out. Oh, I could be crazy. I could do fucking anything. I'm nuts.
Like, we knew that, like, the Israelis said straight up when they started this Operation Rising Lion that this would be, a week or so long operation. It was 2 weeks as it turns out, but they seem pretty happy with themselves in terms of what they've achieved. Now, as we discussed at the start, whether or not this really just kicks the can down the road. That's what this does. It kicks the can down the road a year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 6 months, who knows. But at some point, the Iranians will, if they weren't really keen on making a bomb, well, they're probably pretty keen on it now. Because
we've piqued their interest, I would say, as the West. Yeah.
And
it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't achieve, like there's a reason that no president in recent memory every president has, done something to restrain Israel with regard to directly getting into a conflict with Iran. Like every American president for the last 30 years, whatever, has basically said like, hey, let's try and not start a nuclear conflagration if we don't have to. And Trump just ignored all of that. Like there's a reason that we haven't been bombing Iran this whole time. And Trump's just like, fuck it, drop huge, juicy loads on them. Big loads, the biggest loads you've ever seen. And it's like, it's not because he's like a brilliant theoretician, strategist, whatever, or he's the one that's got the balls to do it when no one else has. Like, this is a dumb strategic move that American presidents have been trying to avoid having to do for decades, and he has just thoughtlessly done it with no regard whatsoever to the consequences that are naturally going to unroll in the region now as a result of this. Like, just because it looks good this week doesn't mean it's going to look good a year, 2 year, 3 years when Iran's got a nuke. You know what I mean?
I'd say, did it look good this week? Did it look good at any point?
Bombs,
I think they wanted it to.
Going
They've
exploding on TV looks good.
But they wanted this to be the, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Ladies,
moment,
famously a great moment for George Bush because it totally worked out for him.
Anyway, so Israel and Iran, I guess, are not shooting at each other anymore. A lot of, I think the Iranians have been coy with their responses, but there were reasonably serious casualties, I think, in Iran, as well as some, obviously, in Israel as well.
And like I said, they Israel bombed, but like Iran bombed an Israeli hospital. Israel bombed residential neighborhoods and things like that. Like, a lot of innocent people just took a dirt nap as a result of all of this. Because a couple of powerful men sitting very far away decided that they needed to die that day. Like, it's completely unnecessary. How pointless. And it doesn't even achieve the stated strategic aim, which is to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb. If anything, it accelerates it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Puts it
pointless.
Off. But,
Well, good news. We're going to spend more money with NATO.
Yeah. That's kind of the other aspect that Pete Hegseth was getting at, was when he opened up his press conference. They just got back from the NATO summit, which has been highly successful.
Massive loads.
Yeah, according to who?
All of the NATO countries have agreed to up their defense spending to 5% of GDP, up from. I think it was, what's the last target?
3.5.
3%, 3.5, yeah. Although, funnily, I was reading that in this that I think it was Spain and one other country have still haven't upped it from 2%. They've just been sort of oh, okay, I guess we're a part of NATO. But
they've just not been doing it and hoping no one notices. It's going to a uni tutorial without doing the reading for the fourth week straight. You're like, I just hope no one's noticed.
Yeah. And Spain, it's they're pretty far away from Russia. Do they really need to worry about it?
A Tale of Two Cities is a story about two different cities.
And it was kind of a weird conference as well, because the who was it? The Rutte, whatever his name is. I think he was the Danish. He's Danish or something. I want to find it. Someone else talk, but he was pretty much. He called Trump daddy at one point.
Yeah, I heard. So I heard that.
Oh clip. Yes, yeah. Sorry, I saw that.
It was weird. In case you're thinking, what's the context of it? There's got to be some sort of explanatory context. There isn't. He's just and it's the way Trump's treated. It's daddy's coming home, sort of thing. Yeah, the whole thing was super weird.
Mr. Root. R-U-T-T-E.
What's his job again? He's the NATO
Secretary General.
Yeah, okay. And then a leaked text message came out that he had sent Donald Trump being congratulations, thanks for bombing Iran. You did what no one else was willing to do. We're so thankful for you.
All of these fucking military, they're such weirdo, fucking horny, daddy issue having fucking fascists. They just can't help themselves, really, honestly. So weird.
But also this the Secretary General of NATO just sounds like he went to the Tucker Carlson school of talking about Trump, dropping the actual usage of the phrase daddy was in the sentence of saying daddy has to sometimes use strong language. When they were talking about the US stepping in to deal with to deal with the Israel-Iran situation.
Just kiss.
It's weird.
Just kiss. Just get it over with.
Daddy sometime. What did
Tucker Carlson said? Daddy's come home. Everyone's going to get a spanking.
Yeah. It's like
I still can't.
And eventually, Daddy comes home or something, and you're like, oh boy, and what does Daddy do, Tucker? What does
describe it slowly?
That press conference lives rent free in my head, like every day, and like I can't really talk about it to people at work because it's so fucking weird.
Yeah,
you're
no
like,
one can get it,
and no one's really interested when like if I say, hey man, like did you see that?
Did you get that Johnson file in or?
Yeah, Adam.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson video? They're just like, stop saying weird shit, Adam.
We're at work, so we can't talk about the spanking stuff.
Yeah, Adam, stop talking about Tucker Carlson's like homoerotic daddy fantasies with Trump. We've got an issue with your TPS reports.
Yes, it's definitely an issue with my TPS.
Did you get the memo?
But I can't forget that clip. It's an amazing.
Nor should you. Nor can I, because it's burned into my retina.
If you, the listener, are confused about what we're talking about, just Google
Tucker Carlson spanking. And whatever happens, that's on you, man. That's your responsibility. I will not take and God.
Yeah, that is between you and your algorithm. I was going to say, like the one true God, your algorithm.
But it's interesting. So this 5% of GDP, which is the sort of typical way you measure defense spending in economic circles, it's actually really 3.5% of GDP, and then there's like 1.5% that's just like for
plus a little sweetener for vagary. Yeah.
Well, I'll find the actual clause. It's protect our critical infrastructure, defend our networks, ensure our civil preparedness and resilience, unleash innovation, and strengthen our defense industrial base, which just sounds a lot like synergy.
Whatever the fuck you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
We are systems thinkers.
It actually sounds like they're saying, we're going to actually just spend money on defense manufacturing is kind of what I'm getting from that. But
it could be anything. It could be like cyber defense. It could be network infrastructure. It could be like that.
Which is going to give Lockheed Martin $1 billion.
Yeah, basically we got our mates at Raytheon and we're just going to fire the cash cannon at their faces and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
There's something that's really concerning with all of this extra defense spending beyond the fact that it's like, do all of these NATO countries actually need to spend 5% of GDP? I know 5 is like a nice solid round number, but like, is there actually a necessity to spend that money? Putting all of that aside, like the idea that we're just going to spend a shitload of money with no predefined sort of purpose or commitment for that money is problematic. But it's like, that's not how. Yeah, that comes at a cost, right? If you are spending money, 5% of your GDP, not 5% of your budget, 5% of all of the transactions that happen in your economy apparently need to be defense spending. One out of every $20 that changes hands in your economy has to go to defense. That is a shitload of money, and that comes at a real opportunity cost. In the post-war period in Europe, there was this real expansion in Western countries of social services, the social safety net, things like that. And the reason that they were able to spend big on those programs was what they called the peace dividend. Basically, because they weren't spending big on their military and industrial complex post-World War II, because the war was over, they could then divert all of these additional resources into things like, in Britain, the NHS, the National Health Service. Now everyone gets free healthcare because we're not spending money on tanks and whatnot. The problem with diverting all of this money into an ill-defined kind of like pot of magical anti-Russia money is that it comes at an opportunity cost. That is money that has to. A lot of these European countries are already under pretty serious fiscal constraints for the years ahead. The UK is not looking good. Other countries like Germany has had to, get rid of their debt brake. Like things are not looking good for European debt spending going forward. And to take further money away from already strained budgets and put it towards defense is going to be really problematic.
But George, if we start spending, Yeah, if we start spending money on defense, then we have money we're spending on defense that we can stop spending on defense to fund social services. Don't you see? We can just do that again.
Yeah, we'll get the peace dividend back. The sooner we stop spending money, the sooner we can start the peace dividend again.
Yeah, the sooner we start spending money on military spending, the sooner we can stop it and use it towards social services. I am very smart.
Makes perfect sense.
It's over. It's the increase is over. I think 10 years they're talking about potentially. So it's not like it's an immediate uptake, but yeah. I mean the thing is, Hegseth's quite keen to say, oh, this was Trump's doing. Trump is the one that convinced everyone to do this. But as George pointed out earlier in the show, I mean the reason why they're doing this is because Russia's
Russia's making a move. War. This isn't just Russia's sitting there silently and we're all making sure that Russia's not doing anything. Russia has been waging a war in Ukraine for years.
Despite the publicity and Trump's hopes, they're not keen. They don't want peace. They don't want peace. No. They want their slice of Ukraine. And there are credible intelligence reports that say that they're potentially ready to make moves on non-NATO aligned European countries like Moldova, right? Georgia, these kind of countries that are former Soviet blocs that the Russians have already got their influences in, are potentially next in the firing line, so to speak, in terms of territorial or influence operations that may come from Russia. Now, the other thing is all the Baltic states, so all Latvia, Estonia, all those kind of countries, all these little micronations that were former Soviet bloc that sort of found their independence in the last 30 years. They're terrified Russia's going to come kicking the door in.
Wonder why?
You've got Sweden and was it Sweden and what's the other Finland? Joining NATO, which was
would have been unheard of 20 years ago.
Unheard of 20 years ago. So people are definitely afraid. That's what's going to happen. And I guess if everyone's afraid, then there's much more cause for countries to agree to something like this. And it's obviously much easier for politicians to sell it to the public as well, right? So to George's
fear
point
is so easy to sell. It's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, we need to do this because Russians are going to invade. And we goes, okay, well, I guess I'll just forego the next dole check or whatever.
Sorry, you don't get dental. We gotta fight the Reds.
But obviously, the other aspect is that they realize, the Americans great, everyone's spending more money. This will help us together. But really, it's also a case of there is a real possibility that if there is a war and a further escalation of the conflict in Europe, that the Americans won't be there somehow, that Trump will.
Well, I think that's more or less what he's threatened, essentially. The reason that they're increasing their defense spending, these European nations, is because of the very real threat that Donald Trump won't be there when push comes to shove. I had the same thought when they came down to Australia the other couple of weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, Australia's got to raise its defense spending by an extra $40 billion a year," and everyone was like, "Oh, probably not, though." Hey,
rather not. Hey.
And this is the thing.
So America is obviously not going to be here for us if shit kicks off with China, right? That's the whole premise that this cooperation and partnership has been predicated on for the last couple of decades is, you have your little spy thing here down at Pine Gap and we're close partners. And if shit really kicks off, we'll rely on you, the Americans, to, provide the security.
Put your bombers here. That's fine. Yeah.
That's fine. We'll be part of your global web of, global military hegemony. And we get to live under your umbrella, right? That's the whole idea of partnership. But if the US is more or less, declaring that they're no longer going to participate in that and they're going to get everyone to fund themselves, it's well, if we're funding ourselves, then what is the benefit of having you as shouldn't we be partnering with the Chinese then, if that's the case? As our largest trading partner and the source of all of our wealth? Doesn't it make more sense that we should partner with them rather than you?
Wow, that's the sequel to Tomorrow When the War Began. That's crazy.
Tomorrow, the day after Tomorrow When the War Began, we realized we should have actually sided with the invaders. It's a less catchy title, but I mean, it's
and that's the pressure, right? Is that now because they've told us, you need to raise it to 3.5% of GDP, but now if all of Europe is doing this, it makes us look like us being Australia, look like we're not potentially holding up our end of the
We
bargain.
don't want to look like soft cocks. Just like, we want to be part of the
But you can't just, but again, to my earlier point, you can't just like fire the money cannon at the defense industrial complex and create capacity. As Richard Miles said, and he's quoted in this article from The Conversation, like that's not how we go about the business of creating capability in Australia's military. We say, so Defense Minister Richard Miles said, we have gone about the business of not chasing a number, but thinking about what is our capability need and then resourcing it. Yeah, we think about what we need and what would be useful, and then we put money towards that rather than just going, well, we've got $11 squillion to spend. How, like, what are we going to spend it on? $900 hammers from the Pentagon? Like, what, it's.
I mean, that's absolutely right. He's not wrong there. But also, you're talking a big game when we as Australia say we think about what our capability need is and then we resource it. We're never getting those nuclear submarines, friends.
Yeah,
you can't lecture me on good dispense spending when we are, please, can we have these nuclear submarines?
We thought about it and we decided what we need is $400 billion worth of nuclear submarines 20 years from now. That's what we decided we need.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good point, Tom, because as Jennifer Parker, who wrote this article from The Conversation, points out, she's not from The Conversation, but she wrote it for The Conversation, is that, Australia is wildly shy of its current capability needs.
Yes, there are clear gaps in our defense capabilities. Yes.
Defense procurement, as we've talked about previously on the show, over the last 20 years has not been good, shall we say.
Historically not good.
So, I would hope that, there is enough political will behind the Labor Party in Australia that they would realise that we don't want to be Trump toadies. I think the election demonstrated that, and that they will trust that instinct of the Australian people to not cave to any sort of perceived pressure around defence spending.
Imagine if we had $384 billion that we just decided to pump into like alleviating homelessness or alleviating poverty or like making sure that, sexual violence was not a concern anymore, solve the housing crisis. Because there's like 5 different crises I could think of that you could solve for $384 billion over, 20-something years.
Yeah.
It's just, to my mind, I don't know why. It's just so frustrating to me that we just go, and that's one procurement project in one department in one area of our military. That's how much money goes into this, right? And the idea that we're just going to pump even more good money after the bad because Donald Trump says so is just like frankly ridiculous. If we really spent that money in ways that were positive, think of what we could achieve for our communities, for, remote Indigenous communities, for recognition, for health, for dental, for, there's so much you could do with that money, right?
What about the Reds, George? They're coming for us.
You know what? Let them have us. I'm not going to go die fighting for Taiwan. Are you? Like let's.
I really like succulent Chinese meals. So
I love the Chinese.
Let's do it. Let's get some, I'm happy to have dumplings. I'm happy to go. Let's do it.
The language, learning the language could be a bit of a.
I mean, yeah, I do need to.
Barrier, but
I need to probably get on some Duolingo or something and sort of skill up a little bit.
Yeah, if you're looking towards which regional, which hegemon, China or America, is likely to dominate the next century, I don't think anyone's putting fat stacks on America at this point, right?
So, I don't know. We're going to see we're not hearing the good stories out of the US, George. Pete Hegseth called it. We're not getting the positive news stories about all of the good things that are happening with the US economy and
all of the good things that definitely happened and aren't just shit that Pete Hegseth is saying.
All right, I'm gonna leave because my son's losing his mind in the other room. You guys finish off the show and I'll close it off once you guys are done. All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
And this is what happens when you're a dad. You sometimes have to go. You've got to go answer the call. Yeah. And George, with his fresh haircut, is departing.
Yeah.
So I guess in Australia, or staying in Australia, and related to this, the guess, conflicts, plural, that are happening in the Middle East.
Our military industrial complex and contributions.
Well, alleged contributions,
yes,
Tom.
alleged
It's not proven, but some shit went down in Sydney today.
Yes.
So what happened?
I think what was this Friday morning? So a few days ago.
Sorry. Okay.
A few days ago. There's no great way to segue into this story. It's really awful. But there were protests happening in front of a business. What is that? SEC Plating. And the protests were around because the protesters believe, that's why I say this, because the company denies this allegation. But the protesters believe that this company, SEC Plating, supplies components that are used in F-35 fighter jets, and these are the jets that the Israeli Defense Forces use. So they're protesting us, a company here in Australia, building components to be used to bomb Gaza. Makes sense. The company denies that allegation, but that's why the protesters were there. And part of the reason that this has blown up in the past couple of days is because a former Greens candidate who actually ran in my electorate here in Sydney, Hannah Thomas, has posted photos of herself after this protest, after she was handled by police with her right eye just shut and pissing blood in. Like, it's some really graphic imagery. It's really hard to look at. Where she says that she's been in she is I think still in hospital, or she might be out of hospital by now. So these articles sort of came up in the more immediate aftermath, but was hospitalized. And her lawyer states that she could lose sight in her right eye. Now there's footage of the incident of New South Wales police. The story, let's step back a second. The story from New South Wales police is that they said they responded to protesters at this place, that they gave a move-on order. Some people did not comply with that move-on order, and a woman in her mid-30s was hospitalized after not complying with that move-on order. That's how they describe it. So the footage, I saw that look at him. I'm like, that's exactly the look I had, being like, what possibly could have happened? How could she possibly have not complied with a move-on order that warranted being clocked in the face like she has been? I'll answer it for you. She can't have. She couldn't have possibly done anything that warrants this. And the footage that has been posted has shown police just grabbing her. People then it becomes a huge scuffle with lots of people involved, with lots of yelling of let her go. It's hard to kind of tell who's who in the footage, but then a woman in a black coat, which matches sort of the other what she's wearing in the pictures in the back of the ambulance and stuff, being moved away by police and then tripping to the ground, and a police officer getting on top of her, and then other police going around and stuff. Doesn't look like the kind of thing where someone just falls and bashes their head in such a way to really look like the kind of injuries that she's got. Yeah, it looks like police just beat a person without cause. I know, shocking.
Or maybe used overzealous force, shall we say, if they're, assuming that's maybe when she was dragged away or something. I'm not sure. It's unclear when the actual injury itself happened in that altercation.
That's the charitable assessment.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's horrific.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that it got that bad. I don't think it was a huge protest. It was
no,
a couple dozen people, most, from my understanding, right?
A couple dozen people.
Yeah,
practicing their right to protest. They were given a move-on order. I know protesters don't always just immediately comply. It's very rare for protesters to just go, "Oh, okay, fair enough, sure. We'll leave." But that's not then an invitation just to start bashing people. The injury. Oh, God, sorry, I have to get the photo off my screen just because it's very graphic and disturbing. And she might lose sight in her eye. It's horrific. Like,
I reckon she might have a bit of a case before the courts potentially. Although she's going to face the courts, I think, for the fact that she was arrested.
They have charged her for like resisting or impeding arrest. When like you can hear in the footage, she's like, she's being asked to get up, and you can hear her saying, "I'm trying to get up." Like you are like, it's just. We've talked about a lot on the show of how it seems like, people responding to protests and stuff like that are maybe overly keen to beat some protesters. This just seems to be yet another case in a long line of cases of this.
It's interesting because the organisation that organised this was Green Left, I think looking at the website. And the Instagram page that has been pushing it. They don't really give a whole lot of information. They just say that, basically that SEC is a key player in the pipeline of weapons components and technology production. Looking at SEC's website, it doesn't look exactly particularly slick. It looks like it's a very basic website. So I don't know if it's, it's not Lockheed Martin that they're protesting. It's a fairly small... it says here revenue of this is from the exporters website. Their revenue is only something like 600 million or something, so it's not. 600,000. That can't be right. Yeah, I'll just ignore that. They're not a big player though, is what I would say in the manufacturing industry. So
but I don't know. It's just. Yeah, it's just yet another case of this will always be reported as like, a protest escalated into violence and stuff. It's like, it seems the escalation was manhandling these people out and beating them by law enforcement. So
and that tends to be when it gets nasty normally, isn't it? It's the we need you to move. No, okay, yoink. And in the process of yoinking, there is some sort of altercation.
Yes. People don't like being yoinked, and when you're more armed than they are, there's a power dynamic here that it gets nasty very quickly. But
so I hope she's all right. She's due to face court on July 15, apparently.
Geez. Well, I hope Ms. Thomas recovers use of her eye. It looks really, really awful. But speaking on forms of protest,
August 12th.
August 12th. I was going to say that's really soon for after an injury like she sustained as well. All right, but moving on to talk about other forms of protest. These ones more silly or just more entertaining in a way. The Glastonbury Music Festival is happening in England. And oh boy, stuff's been going down. Like, I mean, music's always been like, some big moments of political movements, political announcements, and
art is political. It's political. Its very nature.
It is indeed. But oh boy, it's been getting a bit crazy. There's some fantastic murals that I've seen put up. There was one my wife sent to me today, which is like a whole installation where people have painted a mural that says "Send them to Mars," and they've made this big rocket with the Nazi saluting Elon Musk image in it, and having a line of people like Bezos, Zuckerberg, Trump, J.K. Rowling, all these people that awful right wing shit heels, just going into it. And another part of the installation is a Tesla that they organized to have run over by a tank. Like, this guy, they interviewed the guy who did it. This guy in England drove a tank over at Tesla. And then they've
that just made that guy's day, by the way. They're like, hey,
amazing.
We want you to crush something with your tank. He's gone, I've been waiting for this moment my whole life.
He's even better, Adam. They interviewed this guy, and his quote was, "We've crushed fascism before, we'll crush it again." And I was like, yes, what a guy. And I think they also put the number plate on the Tesla, red fascism, and they crushed it. Incredible. But the really big part of it is, I don't know how familiar you are, Adam, with an Irish hip hop group called Kneecap.
Never heard of them.
Totally unfamiliar.
Well, I have now, but no, not prior to this.
Yeah. They're a hip hop group, been touring a lot lately. And very very political, like anarchist hip hop group from Ireland.
What?
They've been
the
very
Irish
vocal.
of anarchists? What are you talking about?
And and have very strong political feelings.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, so they've also been very vocal about being like, pro-Palestine, like all this sort of stuff. It's gotten them headlines all over the world. One of them, though, one of the members, whose stage name is Mochara, was charged recently with a terrorism offense because they displayed a Hezbollah flag at a concert, which... controversial, depending who you ask, kind of stuff. Hardly an act of terrorism. That seems really trumped up, which is definitely what they say as well. But yeah, so on that, they've been organised to perform at Glastonbury, and that's been a whole point of conversation. They're like, wait, the band where one of the members has a terrorism charge against them is going to be performing, like... People have been complaining to the point where the Prime Minister of Britain, Keir Starmer, said that the band's appearance was not appropriate. He thinks that they shouldn't be performing at Glastonbury. And I think we all know that anarchist punk musicians definitely accept being told not to do things like just by turning the other cheek. They take the criticism on board and they go, you know what, fair enough.
Very reasonable.
I'm going to reflect. Yeah. And I will think about myself.
I've learned. Now I'm going to act by doing exactly none of the things that you've suggested.
100%. Kneecap will like get fucked. So they took to the stage, the West Holtz stage. I'm not too familiar with sort of all the setups in Glastonbury, but I assume that's one of the big stages. They took to the stage and they led chants of "fuck Keir Starmer" with the crowd, saying like the Prime Minister of your country, not mine, said he didn't want us to play, so fuck Keir Starmer. And they got a whole crowd of people to be going along with it. And they wear.
It's hilarious. It's like Irish anarchists on one side, Tories on the other, just being like. Holding hands, shaking it together.
Yeah, they're the
Keir Starmer.
They're the Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger arms in Predator, linking in the middle. Fuck Keir Starmer. So and their crowd is full of people with like Palestinian flags and all this sort of stuff. Just created like a bigger moment, right? And I believe the BBC made the decision to like not air their performance in their live coverage of Glastonbury. So that was a whole thing, right? But on top of that, because this has become such a big deal, it's now been so the musicians believe that they're trying to silence like these pro-Palestinian voices, right? So another band this punk band has an amazing name. Their name is Bob Villain. Isn't that brilliant? I'd never heard of these people. Bob Villain, love it. No notes.
Bob Villain.
Yeah, sensational.
Bobby boy.
So in their one, because they knew they weren't in the firing line to not be shown in the coverage, there'd been no previous controversy around their appearance. So they led their crowd in a chant of "Death to the IDF." Which would have been in the coverage, seen by everybody. Just amazing. Like, just don't tell punk people not to do stuff. Like, are you this?
See the producer, the BBC producer in the van at the back of the festival, just being like,
"Oh no, cut it!
God damn it!
I believe the BBC have actually pulled the Bob Villain performance from the on-demand version of the recording. Like, obviously it happened live. And now the police are saying like they're going to assess video evidence and see whether any offences were committed in all this. It's like, okay, just get over yourselves.
Probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, holy cow, just like crazy stuff going on at Glastonbury. I thought, in a week of terrible news.
You want. At a festival, that's what you want, man. Let's fucking, raise the roof. Get some fucking action going on.
Yeah, do it.
I mean, most of the people at that festival are probably so drugged up that they're not going to know what's fucking going on anyway, to be honest. But it's part of the Glastonbury vibe, you might say.
Oh well, yeah, especially when you're booking anarchist bands. What do you expect them to do? Like, yeah, it's a thing of what do you expect these people to do? Like, are we seriously still doing this? Like, it reminds me,
particularly an Irish anarchist, like,
yes. Yeah. Who've also done and for obvious reasons, some big anti-British monarchy demonstrations at their gigs. I don't think they're gonna listen to the British Prime Minister.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna take that well. So
yeah,
apparently the Red Arrows flew over a set at some point by accident, or it's very weird.
Oh, really?
Some jets flew over. Yeah, there was like a jet fly past in the middle of a crescendo of one of the songs, which I think I don't know if that was planned. I think it just sort of happened, but anyway.
Yeah.
Wild times.
Just amazing. It reminds me of an instance, I think this was also on the BBC a while ago, where they booked it was on the radio and they were also filming it, but they booked Rage Against the Machine to be on their thing, and they asked them not to swear in their song, and they were performing Killing in the Name. And,
good.
And they started playing it, and they get to "fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." And they do it, and you can hear the announcers being like, "Oh no, we asked them not to do that." And it's like, you asked Rage Against the Machine to not say, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." What?
Oh my god.
It's just absolute madness.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting bit of news, just him. The Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda have just signed a US-mediated peace deal with Donald Trump to end their conflict, which has been raging now for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, basically, sort of like a proxy war in some ways. There's a bunch of rebel groups that have been sponsored by Rwanda fighting through the Congo. Anyway, so Rwanda's basically agreed to chill the fuck out, and hopefully those groups will dissipate. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's good. It's good news, but it's just crazy that Trump again is at the center of it, and he is, by the looks of it, being the peacemaker.
It feels accidentally. He just happens to be there. I don't think this is, as we've said earlier on, this has nothing to do with his, I would say, lack of abilities in any kind of negotiation. But okay, great.
Yeah, it's good, but it's interesting, just the way it's being positioned. But this has been an agreement that's been in the works for a while, apparently. So.
Well, there we go. Some breaking news in a podcast we'll hear later.
Just like though some of the other peace deals, there is the possibility that the rebel groups that Rwanda's been sponsoring could just turn around potentially and go, nah, and just keep going. But without Rwandan support, they might be a little bit handicapped, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, some good news to end your Sunday evening or whenever you're listening to this podcast.
Now, how do we end this with George out of the room? Because he's controlling.
I think we just sit here and just start playing Splitgate. I think that's the only. We'll just broadcast it. We can just do it. We're on Twitch, right? We're on Twitch, right? So we could just.
We are.
We just do a gaming stream now. That's kind of what we could do. Or we could just close the show out and
he's controlling everything. Yeah, that's true. But then he's just streaming his living, his house forever.
Amazing. No. Let's just do it. Let's just end the show and then leave, and then just leave it with the viewers with a room. Just his
running there.
An empty room.
I don't know if he can still hear us.
I mean, he had his headphones with him.
Did he? He took them with him? Oh boy.
And I just got a message. I've just received 2 messages, and as it turns out, George we can close the show, and he can hear us.
He can. Okay. Yeah. All right. All hail George, our glorious leader.
Our glorious leader.
We love him very much.
I got another text message. Oh, good. What's he saying?
Always watching Wazowski. Very good.
Always watching.
Excellent. Always watching. That was not my best Roz. I need to work on that. So yes, thank you all for listening. We have and always have been and always will be. Oh boy, Unnatural Selection. We've been in your ear holes for the past hour and 10 minutes, which has been honestly a privilege. It's just been really nice. It's cozy in here. Thank you for sharing your brain space with us. I'm just trying like a bit of an affirmation kind of thing. This is the moment where we just take time to appreciate the moments we've shared here together. And it's
believe
just
in you, Tom.
It's just nice. Thanks, Adam. It's totally not me buying time to remember what the next part of the spiel is. You can follow us on all the social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mother flipping TikTok. George may have set up a Blue Sky. I don't know. But yeah, sure, why not?
Go into your social media, go Unnatural Show.
Unnatural Show. Hopefully it'll be there. Who knows? George will probably set up a Truth Social at some point just because, untapped market. You can follow me on Threads at tom.heath. You can follow George on Instagram, and I want to say Blue Sky at George Sipos.
And you can't follow me anywhere because I'm going to go and I'm just not on social media. Pretty much is the main reason. I was going to say a joke and I couldn't think of one in time because this has been the worst ending of the show that we've ever had. But
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
That's fine.
It's fair enough, Adam. You're not on social media. You're better than all of us. We get it.
Well, I am on social media. I'm just not on social media publicly anymore. I mean, you can still try and find me on Facebook and then try to add me, and I'll just ignore you. I'll ignore your friendship request if you try to add me. That's what I'll do.
That hurts my feelings.
No, I'll accept you. I just won't accept you.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great. Wonderful.
We're already friends. Like, I don't know why you would re-request. Are we not friends on Facebook anymore?
I don't know. Maybe just to test it. Maybe I'll unfriend you and then add you again. This is great. I'm just gonna quit this while we're ahead. We're not ahead. We're very far behind. Thank you all for listening. We will see your lovely faces next week.
Just gonna drop some mother flopping loads on some.
Nope.
Nope.
I'd say we're out, but we can't stop the recording until George gets back.
Just agonizing. End the fucking show already. Jesus Christ. All right, bye.